Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of WebCenter in Action, where we sit down with a customer and an implementation partner and talk about how they've used WebCenter to change the way they do business. But first, a little background on why even consider WebCenter or why even have these conversations about changing what is becoming now a digital business. So there's a couple of key areas where a digital business comes into the forefront. And the first is the ability and the willingness to embrace new technology. The second area is around working more closely to not just engage customers with unified marketing plans or unifying the touches that the customer is getting, but actually empowering them to do what they need to do. In some cases, we'll call that self-service. And it's not just the customers or the constituents or the students or the administrators. It's everybody who you're dealing with, both internally and externally. Now that you've got this ability and this willingness to embrace the technology and you've set out to change the perception of what customers or users are able to do, now you need to go back and look at how does that change operations. Self-service opportunities also change the way the actual information is going to flow. If you're able to do those things, you're able to increase whatever measure you use that is profit. In a commercial world, that might be profit. In a public sector space, that might be the willingness of your citizens to engage with you electronically. In the education world, it might mean you can do things for less money, which means you can reinvest that savings into something else. That's what the digital business is about. I think I mentioned these three things. Engaging experiences with content that is managed in the proper context and focusing on the business processes themselves. Just one more word about that content idea. A proposal has a certain value. The information about whether or not the proposal was a success, how much information you have about who wrote it, all that, what they call metadata, is of incredible value. So just saying it's on the server somewhere is not enough. You need a way to manage context, and that context changes depending on the business process. So how you think about presenting that content out to an end user in the context of a process, those are the things that are driving that digital business. It's not enough just to say, we have an imaging system for accounts payable. You actually have to go one layer deeper and look at all these other areas. And the reason that we are talking about WebCenter today is that WebCenter, along with the BPM product, the Business Process Management Engine, allows you to attack both of those areas. The context of the content, the users, and the processes that every user goes through, whether it's an employee getting a travel reservation, or whether it's a customer filling out a trouble ticket, or whether it's a student requesting a copy of their transcripts on a portal. It's a step in a process around content which is driving the information age. And that's what WebCenter is about and why WebCenter and BPM are so closely coupled. But that's enough of the abstract. Let's hear about a real-world example of that. And today, we're going to hear from the University of Melbourne and how they improve their user experience by streamlining processes with WebCenter. And we're also going to hear from the implementation partner, which is Oracle Consulting. And sometimes I feel those guys are the best-kept secret at Oracle. Graham and Rolf, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Sure. Thanks, Mark. I'm Graham Dunlop. I'm a solution architect with the University of Melbourne, and I'm the lead architect on the Student Portal project.
Hi, my name is Rolf Zelder, working for Oracle Consulting Services. I'm a senior solution architect across multiple domains, such as WebCenter, security, SOA. I'm also the WebCenter domain lead for Australia and New Zealand. I was the technical architect for the student portal, and I was responsible for the implementation and delivery of it.
Outstanding, and thanks, gentlemen, for joining us today. By way of an agenda, we'll do a little bit of an overview of the university. We'll talk about 4 areas in the abstract, and then have some more details on each one, and we'll see a quick demonstration. So, Graham, why don't you tell us something about the university?
Thanks, Mark. The University of Melbourne is the second oldest in Australia. We were founded in 1853, and we're the oldest university in Victoria. We have about 45,000 students. Around 12,000 of those are international students from 129 countries across the world. We have dedicated staff of around 7,000 full-time and part-time people, and they manage the delivery of education and operational services at our main campus in Parkville and at 8 other campuses distributed across Australia. We are consistently ranked the top university in Australia. The Times Higher Education World University Rankings places us at number 33 in the world. We enjoy many impressive international links through our worldwide alumni, our diverse student base, extensive international research collaborations, and partnerships with over 170 universities worldwide. We're also an active member of the Universitas 21 and Association of Pacific Rim Universities networks of research-led universities. The Student Portal project, the objective here was to give our students a more unified, a more attractive and a more engaging experience than what they previously had. Our Student Portal is one of the university's public faces. It's one of the first things that students see when they sign up with us, and it's one of the things that they use frequently throughout the year, probably most frequently during enrollment times or when they're trying to get exam results and things like that. And what we want to do is to try and consolidate in one place, I guess, a summary of the things that the students want to see and information that they may need and links to other resources and other systems that they'll use throughout their time with us. We also use it to update and inform students. We want something that's up to date with all of the information that we have. We don't want to do things overnight and have people wait for the information to get to them. Now, some of the challenges we faced with the original student portal that we had, you can see an example of it on the left-hand side there. It looks a little out of date, possibly a touch amateurish, but in addition to that, we were facing some technological problems. We were using a technology that was at end of life. We had some stability problems with it. And again, we wanted to give people a more attractive refresh, something that would be an engaging and attractive experience for them. We also wanted to reduce the reliance on IT for changes, because the old portal, if you needed to change text or messages or any kind of information for the student, it was all fairly static. There wasn't really much that was connected up to our other systems, our student systems, our learning management system, our library system. So any changes had to be funneled through IT, and of course there's a lead time with that. Things get put in a queue, priorities are higher than what people might like on other items, and so their changes don't get through as quickly as they would like. So one of the big things that we wanted to do was reduce the reliance on IT for changes and give people the ability to quickly add new content. So what we decided on was an Oracle WebCenter-based experience, or an Oracle WebCenter-based solution. Along with that, we wanted to use the Oracle SOA Suite to provide integration capabilities to our other systems, refresh the design to make it more attractive and more modern, and give it the flexibility to customize. And we felt that the Oracle WebCenter stack and the integration stack provided us with a way to do that in a reliable and engaging fashion. We knew that we didn't have the in-house capability to do this at that time. We were running a fairly lean development shop. So we selected Oracle Consultancy Services to help us with this and to provide the necessary expertise and experience to give us the result that we needed. So I'll hand over to Rolf to explain more about Oracle Consultancy Services.
Thank you, Graham. Oracle Consulting Services have expert product skills across the entire Oracle portfolio with over 17,000 consultants across the globe. Oracle Consulting Services is able to share and leverage implementation experiences from each project around the globe by using a worldwide knowledge management tool and web-enabled collaboration environment. This also allows reusing of proven components across multiple projects and clients. Oracle Consulting Services can also provide a delivery and implementation methodology called Oracle Unified Method, which supports a least risk approach. At the University of Melbourne, Oracle Unified Method was utilized for delivery and implementation. Valuable implementation techniques were utilized from the US WebCenter development team to accelerate the student portal implementation. From the WebCenter perspective, Oracle Consulting Services has 15 highly skilled consultants in Australia and New Zealand, which are specialized in the WebCenter portfolio, covering WebCenter content, WebCenter sites, ADF, WebCenter portal, and of course, WebCenter image. If required, the local Australian WebCenter practice can be supported by the global service delivery team, the offshore team, which are mainly located in India. The global service delivery team is fully trained by Oracle and hence matching the quality and skills of the local consultants. The Student Portal project was utilizing resources from the global service delivery team in addition to the local team to meet the delivery timeline. Here are the 5 most common WebCenter offerings used by our clients in the past. Oracle Consulting Services is often getting involved in defining the IT strategy and its roadmaps to align it with the WebCenter product roadmap known at that time. Definition of high-level and detailed architecture is also a very liked service, which helps the client to minimize the risk and get it right at the beginning. Some clients are exposed to WebCenter the first time, and to minimize the learning curve, Oracle Consulting Services is offering a rapid start service, which helps the clients to set up the initial development environment, development life cycles, continuous build environment, and also development guidelines, which are based on Oracle's best practice. End-to-end delivery is often used, which gives the client the comfort that the design and implementation is done right and is based on Oracle's best practice. This way, the Oracle products are utilized in the best and most efficient way. Advisory and assessment services are often used to confirm that existing or new projects are using the Oracle products in the right way. University of Melbourne was utilizing the end-to-end delivery offering for its Student Portal project.
Okay, we've heard from Graham that a lot of those keywords that I mentioned early, like empowering and getting content in front of people, allowing them to create their own content without going to IT, those are all great examples. And so let's go through a few more of these key areas for that user experience or that end-to-end digital experience. And we'll talk about each of these in turn. We'll start with engaging collaboration and what that meant to the university and how we implemented it. So, Graham, why don't you tell us when you thought about the word collaboration, what were the things you were trying to make sure you enabled in the portal?
One thing we wanted to do was to make sure that the business could edit the site. When I say the business, I'm really talking about the student centres, because they are the people who have the closest contact with our students on a day-to-day basis. I guess to increase the collaboration with our students and communicate with them better, we wanted to make sure that the business had a more direct link with being able to change the content and put the correct content in at the appropriate time. On this slide here, you can see, for example, there's a little tile that says Student Admin. That's just a rolling window that contains up to 3 messages which change throughout the year, depending on what messages the student centres want to send out to the students. So things like your results are ready, get ready for enrolment, you can apply for a public transport concession, those kind of things. Another part of the portal gives us the ability to add just informational content for the students, news, various articles from places around the university, and things like that. We wanted the students to have up-to-date information about what the status of their courses and their studies are from various places. So on this slide you can see we've consolidated information from the learning management system, that's LMS there, and the library, how many books and items they have checked out, and as I've said, the student admin. there's a limited way that they can personalise parts of the portal to hide or show information that is relevant to them.
The key benefit is that business owners can now update the content of the student portal and even can create new portal pages without any involvement of the IT department. In the previous portal, content was first documented in a Word document, which was then approved through emails. Then this document was passed on to the IT department for development. In the new portal, the content updates are getting approved by different parties through workflow within the portal. You see what you get, which can be executed within minutes if required. This allows to update content within a short period of time, multiple times a day. This creates an interactive portal where students get the latest information at any time during the day. Because of this design, the ownership of the pages are now with the business owners and not the IT department anymore, which reduces costs and the overall turnaround time of the content updates.
That's a great example of what we were talking about in terms of not just empowering end users, for example, the student personalization, but actually empowering an entire business to own its own content within guidelines that are laid out by IT and by the business, so that certain changes can't be made and certain changes can be made. So that's a great example when we talk about empowering the end users, in this case, not just the end user clicking them with the mouse, but actually the business that's the end user. So administration has one sense of ownership of the portal, and the learning management people have another sense, which leads me to the next major area, which is aggregating services. That's what portals have been doing for years, but it's never as easy as just throwing some windows on a screen. So, Graham, what were some of the keys that you were trying to make sure when you were looking at your various services and how to present them?
So one of the biggest challenges that we have is the diversity of systems that contain various student information. Now, this isn't unique to the university, of course. Most businesses will have this kind of problem. I don't know if it's any worse in the university. The area I work with, we have I think we've charted 300 applications or so that do various things. Obviously, we have major applications like our student management system and our library system and so on. But the thing is that the information is fragmented throughout these systems, and it's hard to present a consolidated view of the information, which is really what a portal is all about. So what we wanted to do was, in our applications, use the SOA suite to consolidate information from various places, most notably our student management system, which is our system of record for student information. The learning management system, it's our system of record for the course and subject information from the library, and also this includes things like our IDM stack to manage identity, and through that hooking into Gmail and some of the other systems that we have. We also wanted to have end-to-end security, a single sign-on capabilities, so that once students had logged into the portal, they could easily get to the library, the learning management system, and the student management system itself. And we wanted to have a consistent tool set as well, so that we did all of the integration in a consistent way that the university itself could then build upon to build more services and consolidate more information.
Because the student portal is utilizing industry standards such as SAML for security, SOAP XML for the back-end integration, the overall cost and the complexity of the integration was reduced, and also made the overall architecture and the implementation more flexible so that faster delivery of future changes and features can be achieved. For example, at the moment, University of Melbourne is looking into exposing the services for the mobile applications. Another benefit is the improvement of the overall user experience. Because the integration of different systems like book library is so seamless and consistent across the portal, the end-user experience is guiding the students through the portal application. This way, the end user, the students, maximizing the provided feature and functionality instead of searching or even missing out on them.
These are great examples of those kind of high-order concepts, those fluffy concepts from the beginning, that this is real stuff. This is tying together various systems in a context that makes sense and having a sense of identity in the system so that when an instructor or a professor is using the learning management system, they're presented the right set of widgets and tools versus when a student is looking at a grade. Obviously, you're not going to have the edit button next to their grade. Even fundamental things like that is how we improve that user experience. The fewer times that a student or an administrator or an instructor has to Alt-Tab to a different window or look for something, a different place to type something in or copy from one cell to another, we're making that digital experience more complete. So now along with that kind of end-user-facing piece is what are we doing on the back end to streamline processes to make them as compelling. Graham, I'm sure you guys looked at some of those areas.
Yes, we did. One area of the student portal is an area called Notices. This is an area where we allow anybody really to submit some kind of notice of some kind of interest of some kind of event to any given group of people. Now, that's all very woolly. The example we have on the right-hand side here shows you that we can submit a notice. You don't quite see all of it. It's quite a long form. But on the notice there, you can say it's for this type of degree, whether it's a graduate by coursework or an undergraduate or honours degree, the residential status, whether it's just for Australian citizens, for the different campuses, for the different areas of study, and so on. So it might be something for, let's say, the Parkville campus, some kind of welcome barbecue on the lawn, and we might submit that and say it has to be published on a certain date, and then it will expire after X number of days. And then there's a few other things too. There's obviously the content of the message and so on. Now, that then has to go through an approval process. Anybody can submit a notice, but not necessarily every notice will get through. Obviously, students have a sense of humour and they may submit something that is inappropriate. So it has to go through an approval process. And what we do is we collect the notice, we send it off for approval to the right people, and then they have the ability to either reject or ask for more comments or to publish the notice. So that all happens in a business process. And that just speeds the process of getting the right information to the right people so the right people can make the right decisions at the right time.
As we have seen, the manual processes have been replaced with automated processes using workflow, for example, in the content update, which helps pushing out content in a faster way than within the previous portal. This reduces the time and also the resources within the University of Melbourne to maintain and publish content through the portal to the end user, which is the student. So the portal becomes more like a real-time portal which the students can read and inform them on the latest and greatest within the University of Melbourne. So the portal application in itself is becoming more a conversation between the student and the business owner of the University of Melbourne. So it is more a collaboration system than just a portal which provides information. Over to you, Mark.
That process example and the subsequent information around how workflow fits into that and how it's becoming real time, there was a key word there, and that's the conversation with the student. You can't have a conversation by posting things that are months out of date or it's hard to find, and that's exactly what we mean by engagement and by streamlining processes. Having more and more processes that are automated in the background, things that people don't even have to be aware of or take any action to have happen. Those are the keys to that digital experience. And now the last one is something that's been brought up at least once, and it's one of the key words, and that is the word platform. Clearly, having a platform and an idea for a platform is important. So, Graham, what were some of the key things you were looking for as you approached this from a platform perspective?
Some of the key things we were looking for were ways to bring everything together under one banner. An example of that is the single sign-on. So as I've mentioned, the single sign-on capability that we've implemented lets us, from Portal, sign into the learning management system, separate system, the library system, the actual student management system, which is where we've kept a lot of the heavy lifting stuff about student information. So, for example, the enrollment function and the class timetabling function, we didn't attempt to duplicate those in the portal itself, so that remains in the student management system, so it's important to be able to go straight from the portal itself to the student management system. And also, we use Gmail for the students' emails, and there's a federated authentication into that so that students can go straight into that. And we've since extended the SSO from the portal to our legacy content management system, which is Squiz Matrix, and that has a whole bunch of largely static HTML pages, but some of them are public-facing, some of them are not. The ones that are not, they are linked into our SSO, so that from the student portal, or indeed from anywhere, you can go to those secured pages. As mentioned also, we had a big focus on integration with the SOA suite, so that we could provide information from various systems in a unified way to enable us to build better systems moving forward.
The unified platform on which the student portal implementation is built is utilizing industry standards such as SAML and SOAP or XML, as previously stated, and also is based on a multi-tier architecture in which the presentation, the application processing, and the data management functions are separated. This architecture is minimizing the dependencies between the tiers and supports scalability of the infrastructure and simplifies maintenance of each layer. Because of that, the unified platform can be easily leveraged for future projects and extended into other businesses within the University of Melbourne. A good example of that is that University of Melbourne is currently looking into extending this unified platform so that it supports mobile phone applications. So here's a good example how one platform can support multiple projects, multiple applications, and can be easily leveraged with minimal effort for other business requirements.
Those are great examples of why a platform is so important, and if you make the right platform decisions up front, that then future growth isn't a complete rip and replace or even a major effort. Now it's a question of picking the right services in the right context and presenting them, whether it's on a mobile device, in a mobile app, or in some other application. So, Graham, let's take a look at it.
Okay, so let's do a quick tour of our student portal. This is the single sign-on page. When you invoke the portal, so I'll just sign on as a student here. And once we've logged in, we get all the details. So this is the introductory page. You can see up here that we've got banners that show the number of new notices or emails, which are off in Gmail. You can link to your G calendar, your Google Calendar, and SAS that's the student advising system. So these are just some important kind of header information we feel the students need to know. Then we have information on the left-hand side here from the learning management system. That's one of the main interactions between students and their lecturers or tutors. So the learning management system contains, I guess, exposes course information, slides, activities, tutorial exercises, and that kind of thing. So here you can see a list of your subjects, and there's a thing called communities in LMS, in the learning management system. And if you click on this, you go straight into the learning management system. I won't do that, I'll just focus on the portal. Over on the right-hand side here, we have a summary of what items the student has out from the library, the number of items on loan, the number overdue. Oh dear, quite a few here. and the number of items that have been reserved. And again, you can go straight to the library. Moving down, there's some social information, some pictures that people can snap on Instagram and post to @UniMelb for social media. The student admin tile here shows important information throughout the year. It changes throughout the year depending on what's happening, whether it's registration time or whether exams are available, exam results are available, and so on. This one here, Ask UniMelb, that links into a set of frequently asked questions. This is powered by the Oracle product right now, and we have frequently asked questions. In fact, we have links to frequently asked questions on the different pages where the links will show you the top 5 related to that particular page. I'll show you what I mean a bit further on. These are just some links to some of the social media sites we have and a summary of any notices. There are none at the moment. Now at the top here we have different areas of concern to students. On this page, this is where you can create a new notice, as I was saying before. Some of the information is the type of notice, the courses or the areas of study that you want to target, when it should be published, and so on. And when you go next, then you have to put in the name of the body that you're representing, whether it's a union or a club or even just yourself, the title of the notice, what it is you want to talk about, and then the content as well. There may be an approval number required if it's an ethics matter and so on, and you can add some links. And most importantly, the contact details. And then once you submit that, that goes off through the approval process. I'll come back to student admin. The campuses and services section, that's largely information, although we do have a link to our map capability, which is built in-house. It's primarily JavaScript and a bunch of other things. What's on campus for various things, information about careers. There's a careers online website. As you can see, it's largely static links on this page. But there are links here to plenty of services that students may want to take advantage of. Over in the library section, again, we aggregate information from the library. So here we can see that on hold, that there are 2 on hold items. We've got the names of those things and where you can pick them up from, and then a link to, I think, the map so you can see where you can get things from. On loan, we've got all these 17 items. They're all overdue. Dear oh me. 18th of November, I'd never let those things get that overdue because then you're up for fines. Although for some reason they're not showing here, so maybe I won't show that. And then there are various library services. Again, these are mainly links. And then there's a discovery search, which is a scholarly search capability that the university has, and you can also search on Google Scholar down here and get results from that. The news and events section, that's largely RSS aggregate feeds. Yep. So some items from Facebook, a list of events that are coming up, some YouTube items, Graduate Student Association. Essentially, these are articles from various news feeds from the university. Now, probably the most important section is the student admin section. And this one here, we can see we have an aggregate of important information such as the address, emergency contact. You can update those, your enrollment status. And then when you go to that, you can get more information about the subjects you're enrolled in, your study plan, request a leave of absence, and so on, exams and results, transport concessions down here, all sorts of information that the students will want to know about. And when we go, this section, the student admin section, has a number of subsections, as we see here. So for personal details, enrollment, in fact, they match these tiles that we have in this summary section. So, for example, if we go to the personal details, we have the details again, and when you click on each of these links, these will actually take you to the student management system. I won't go into that at the moment because I'm just demonstrating the portal, but these links will open the student management system, and because we have the SSO implemented, there's no need for the student to log in. So the enrollment section, same kind of thing, except over here we've got a few extra things. Study plan, some help videos up here, related websites related to your enrollment, and questions that have to do with enrollment. And these link into the Right Now system that I was mentioning before. So these things are actually, these tiles here actually look at the Right Now system and find, I think it's the top 5, there's only 3 showing here, but I think it's the top 5 questions that are most frequently asked about this particular subject. And because it's getting that information from Right Now, that will change if the frequency or the popularity, if you like, of the questions changes as well. So I won't go through the rest of the subsections. They're largely the same. So that really just gives you a quick overview of what the student portal experience is like for the students. We do actually let staff log in as well so that they have the same kind of experience as students, so they can see what it is that the students are seeing. And they can use some of those facilities themselves, such as the notices and so on. Obviously, they're not going to have any LMS or student management system information showing up because staff are not, well, staff can be students, but for the most part, they're not students. And so it does give staff a way to see exactly what the students see, or at least give them the same experience so they can understand if students have questions about the student portal.
Thanks, Graham. It's always much easier to understand when we can actually see these systems. What kind of results have you guys been seeing?
Yes, so when we went live with the Student Portal project, there were about 45,000 students, and for the most part, the portal works fine. There are certain times of the year when we experience an exceptionally heavy load. Those times tend to be around the enrollment periods or when people want to get their exam results. And at that time, we have, well, just about every student trying to log on at once. So we try to tune the portal and the infrastructure, including our Exadata and Exalogic boxes, to handle that load when it was appropriate. And for the most part, that's worked just fine. We've experienced, I think, a much more reliable service based on the Exadata and Exalogic platform. And overall, I think we've reduced complaints as well. Feedback about the student portal is generally positive, the design and the facilities. Of course, people always want more, so we are aiming to put more information and more features into the student portal as we can, I guess as funds become available and as time is available, to be able to upgrade the student experience further.
Graham, thanks so much for spending the time to walk through the portal, the experience, some of the design criteria. As I said, it's always easier to understand these things when you can see them, and I know that these kinds of systems don't just happen overnight, so I appreciate you spending the time. Rolf, is there anything you want to add or conclude with from the Oracle Consulting perspective?
Well, first I want to thank Graham as well to have the pleasure working with him on this project, and thank University of Melbourne giving us the opportunity to develop such a portal for them, a critical part of their IT infrastructure. The Oracle Consulting Services is always happy to come in, to look at the business functional needs, the vision they have, and translate that into benefits using the Oracle products. If you have a wish to consult Oracle Consulting Services, just go to the oracle.com/consulting homepage and contact their local consulting services partner and ask for an assessment to look at the business functional needs, or maybe to work on an IT strategy which helps the business to get to the next stage of their IT infrastructure or the web pages.
Well, I can't thank you gentlemen enough for spending the time helping us understand all the ins and outs of a big project like this. Here's some contact information for folks that want to reach out and ask some more questions, and of course engage in the community. It's a vibrant community. There's a lot of postings, a lot of information being shared in all these various places, including the blog where we're posting new stories, new questions, new interesting ways of doing things all the time. Thank you for your time and attendance, and please don't hesitate to reach out any questions. Thank you.